Hey guys, it's Matt Wenning at WenningStrength.com, and today we're going to talk about overtraining. Now, overtraining gets a bad rap all the time, but I want you guys to understand something. Overtraining is real, and overtraining happens to a lot of you, and it's a big reason of why you're not getting better, but maybe not for the reason that you think. So let's get to it. The first thing that you need to understand about overtraining is usually means that your base of general physical preparedness has outweighed your specific training and your specific goal. Now, what does this mean? You guys have seen me draw this a lot of times before in other videos, but this video really should make a lot of sense. If that's how strong I want to be up here, then my general physical base needs to be this big in order for me to peak that high, okay? The problem is as we start working in, say, a linear periodization model, right? 10, 8, 6, 4, 2, and max again. So let's just look at that in a linear periodization phase. 10, 8, 6, 4, 2, 1, PR, right? This is what linear periodization believes works, which hopefully by now, by watching these videos, you realize doesn't work. Why? Well, it's pretty simple. Down here in the 10s and the 8s and so, you're developing work capacity because time under tension is long. So let's look at a normal set. If I do 10 reps on squats, okay, each one of those reps, even if I'm explosive, is gonna take anywhere from 2 to 3 seconds. Now that's including the eccentric phase, and that's still moving pretty fast, but that's 30 seconds of work, okay? If I do a super hard 1 rep max, okay, so this would be 10 RM, this is how much work we've done. In a 1 RM, we're probably only gonna be 3 to 5 seconds. And that's pushing it as well. So the point is look how much more work. You're talking a ton more work, 10 times more work. Well, at this particular thing, you might be developing GPP, but here you're only developing strength. So the problem is that as you work up in linear periodization from 10 to 1, you slowly start losing GPP goes down. So what happens is as you're trying to climb up this, your body's chipping away at this. And then all of a sudden as you peak, you're only here because you've lost that GPP base. This is the reasoning and the baseline of why conjugate training was developed. It was developed to hold the base while you specifically reach a goal. Because once your fitness base is gone, your training ability is lower. You must get more fit to get stronger. Now what does this mean? Well, where I first learned about this was obviously Louis Simmons back in the 90s when I was reading Powerlifting USA. But as I started digging into more and more of my research in the Soviet texts, because a lot of my professors that I learned from, one of them was an adjunct professor with Zatsiorsky. Vladimir Zatsiorsky ran the Central Institute of Physical Culture in Moscow from the 60s to the early 80s. This meant he saw all the magic in the old communist blocks of how to train conjugate style. And what he used to tell me was that Alexiev, at 330 pounds as a Olympic lifter, would swing a 50-pound kettlebell for 10 minutes as a warm-up. Now you take another 300-plus pound man and show me how long they can swing a 50-pound kettlebell, and you're gonna find it's not that long. So what did they learn? They learned that work capacity was key. Why is it key? Well, because you have to be able to recover. So when you get more fit, recovery becomes the key area in which you have to focus on. And it's that statement that I always come back to. You can't do what you can't recover from. And as you get stronger, so let's say you're a 200-pound squatter, right? As you get stronger, let's say now you're an 800-pound squatter. I'm sure most of us watching this video fall somewhere along here. Do you really think that the 200-pound squatter has to recover from as much as the 800-pound squatter? Absolutely not. In reality, the 800-pound squatter, most people think, actually trains harder and more. Well, you only have one of that thing right. They do train harder, but they train actually less. Why? Because this causes a lot of restoration, and this, the average person can recover from. that becomes the problem. It's recovery to intensity. So as you get stronger, the intensity has to balance itself, okay? This would be understimulating, this would be optimal, and this would be overtraining. The problem is that once you get stronger, this is your limit as far as an elite athlete. When you're really weak, or you're first starting as a beginner, your gray area of what's good and bad is much larger. You can train harder because you're not as strong, and you don't have to train as much because your base isn't big enough, so your body adapts to either less work or more work better. But as you get stronger, these walls start sinking in to where optimal becomes a very fine line between over and under training. Now, how does this happen? Well, because you train too specifically too much. So what you need to understand is that you need general physical preparedness bases built probably 2 to 3 times in an entire year. If you're constantly just working from this 200 to 800 and you're not thinking GPP, then getting faster, then getting stronger, that's actually what that looks like in a long-term graph. You cannot do it in a straight line. Over time, if you were to level it out, it would look like a straight line, but in training, the body has to adapt to different stimuluses at different times. So I hope this opens up a little bit of what you guys need to understand in order to train. Overtraining does exist, but it's individual for everyone. We're going to go into some other factors that need to be very, very dialed in to start reaching these obtainable goals that I think everyone can achieve, at least maybe up to here, as long as they're doing things correctly. But what those things are very, very difficult, and everybody's different. So we're going to attack that on Patreon, and I hope to see you guys there.